We begin in Petersburg, Virginia, where 5 people were shot outside a residence hall at Virginia State University early this morning. Officers responded to reports of gunfire at about 1:28 a.m. Police say multiple suspects are still at large, and no arrests have been announced. Authorities haven't released the conditions of the wounded or confirmed whether they were students. The timing is what makes this so acute. The academic year has just begun, and residence halls are full. Until there's an arrest or a stated motive, that campus stays under a security posture few students expected in week 1. Tropical storm Lala is expected to reach hurricane strength as it closes on Hawaii, forecasters said today, with the Big Island facing the most dangerous conditions. Residents across the island chain have been told to prepare for heavy rain and damaging winds. Here's why the stakes run high. Hawaii's supply lines depend on a small number of ports, highways, and airfields. Even a marginal hurricane can sever them for days, and there's no driving to the next state for supplies. Watch the forecast tracks, which will tighten as the system gets closer. Now, what's happening around town? Coral Gables throws open Aragon Avenue for Family Day at 10 this morning. Easy, free, good for the kids. Over at Manna Wynwood, the Balloon Museum's Pop Air keeps its doors open from 11:45, and it's every bit as strange and photogenic as it sounds. If you'd rather do some good, Frost Science hosts a Mew volunteer workday at noon, and the Alo Runners Club meets in the Design District at the same hour. Then tonight, Churchill's Pub gets loud with Meat Wound, Bleeth, and Vertical Burial, while Just the Funny keeps the improv going late. Closer to home, a Fort Lauderdale venue has canceled a scheduled Democratic Party rally after a complaint from Laura Loomer, the far-right activist and former congressional candidate. That's according to the Miami New Times. What the report doesn't detail is what Loomer actually told the venue or on what grounds the booking was pulled. Organizers haven't said publicly whether they'll reschedule somewhere else in Broward. The question worth watching is whether this becomes a pattern. Private venues withdrawing political bookings under outside pressure changes who gets to gather and where. In Brickell, weeks after a crane collapse that spread across social media, at least one resident says they've gotten nothing. No explanation from officials. None from building management. That's per the Miami New Times. It's a striking gap. The video traveled everywhere, and the people who actually live beside the site are the ones still in the dark. No agency has been identified as having issued findings on what caused it. For neighbors, the open question is straightforward. Who's responsible for telling them and when? Overseas now. Israeli strikes in southern Lebanon killed at least 11 people, including children, according to the Lebanese Health Ministry. The office of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the strikes followed a Hezbollah attack that wounded 3 Israeli soldiers. Lebanese leaders condemned the operation, which centered on the village of Ansar. Separately, Iran struck another commercial vessel in the Strait of Hormuz, the latest in a run of attacks on shipping through that oil choke point. The United Arab Emirates has accused Tehran of targeting traffic in the waterway. 2 fronts, 1 escalation, and energy markets watching both. The United Nations says July was the deadliest month for Ukrainian civilians since Russia's full-scale invasion began. The highest civilian casualty toll the organization has recorded in this war. The timing is pointed. Today marks 1 year since President Donald Trump met Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska. A summit convened to discuss ending the fighting. In the 12 months since, there's been no ceasefire, and by the UN's count, the human cost has only climbed. That gap between diplomacy and the ground is the story to keep watching. In the Americas, President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has triggered Brazil's economic reciprocity process against United States tariffs. The Associated Press reports a formal step that opens the door to countermeasures on American goods. The report frames it partly as a message to Brazilians, Lula projecting strength against Washington. And in Mexico, a son of former President Andrés Manuel López Obrador says the United States revoked his visa, appealing publicly to President Donald Trump to reverse it. Washington hasn't explained its reasoning. Both cases land as the administration turns its attention toward this hemisphere. Neither capital has announced retaliation beyond the procedural steps disclosed so far. On Cuba, Bloomberg reports the Trump administration has set aside military options and narrowed its approach to sanctions as the main instrument of pressure on Havana. That matters enormously for a government already squeezed by fuel shortages, rolling blackouts, and a collapse in hard currency earnings. Sanctions run through the Treasury Department's Office of Foreign Assets Control, which controls the licensing for the fuel and food exports Cuba still receives from American suppliers. So the pressure valve is administrative, and it can tighten quietly. Neither the White House nor the Cuban government has confirmed the internal deliberations described in that report. In sports, a loss that's been 11 years in coming. Prichard Colon, the Puerto Rican welterweight who suffered permanent brain damage in a 2015 fight, died Thursday at 33. The World Boxing Council and World Boxing Organization both confirmed it. Colon had won his first 16 professional bouts before facing Terrell Williams in Fairfax, Virginia, in October of that year. He collapsed afterward with a brain bleed and spent the following decade in a minimally responsive state, cared for by his family. The WBC blamed illegal blows to the back of the head. His case remains boxing's most cited argument for stricter refereeing and better post-fight medical protocols. And something hopeful to close on. Chester Zoo in England reported last week that it had bred the secretarybird for the first time in its 95-year history. 5 chicks hatched. It's a long-legged African raptor that hunts snakes and other prey on foot across savanna grassland, and it's classed as endangered as those grasslands shrink. The zoo is calling it a landmark breeding breakthrough, part of an international conservation program spanning several institutions. 5 birds won't save a species, but they widen the gene pool, and that's how these things start. That's your Miami brief for Saturday, August 15th. Thanks for spending part of your day with us. And if you'd like a brief built around your own city and your own interests, the address is on your screen and in the description. We'll see you tomorrow.